Emily had always been a skeptic. Ghost stories were just that, stories. She never believed in the supernatural, preferring the rational and the explainable. So when she moved to the small town of Riverview for a new job, she didn't think twice about taking the old forest road despite the locals' warnings. Whispering Road, they called it, haunted by spirits who never found peace. She laughed it off as small-town superstition, packed her bags, and set off in her old, reliable car late one evening. She was eager to settle into her new apartment and start fresh. The GPS showed the road as a shortcut, saving her almost an hour. Perfect. The sun dipped below the horizon as Emily drove, and soon she was enveloped in the dense, dark forest. Tall, ancient trees lined the narrow road, their branches like skeletal fingers reaching out to the sky. The only sound was the hum of her engine and the occasional rustle of leaves in the breeze. As she drove deeper into the forest, a thick fog began to settle, obscuring her vision. She squinted at the road ahead, gripping the steering wheel tightly. The GPS signal flickered and died, leaving her with nothing but the road signs to guide her. But the signs were old and weathered, almost illegible. After what felt like hours, Emily realized she was lost. The road seemed to stretch on endlessly, with no turnoffs or landmarks to orient herself. Panic began to creep in, but she forced herself to stay calm. She would find her way out. She had to. Suddenly, her headlights illuminated a figure standing in the middle of the road. Emily slammed on the brakes, her heart pounding. The figure didn't move. As she got closer, she saw it was a woman, dressed in a long, flowing white dress. Her hair was dark and tangled, obscuring her face. Emily rolled down her window, her voice trembling. "Do you need help?" The woman slowly raised her head, revealing hollow, empty eyes. Emily gasped and recoiled, but before she could react, the woman vanished into thin air. The car's engine sputtered and died, plunging her into darkness. Frantically, Emily tried to restart the engine, but it refused to turn over. The fog thickened, swallowing the car in a blanket of white. Shadows danced at the edge of her vision, and the air grew cold. She could feel eyes watching her from the trees, hear faint whispers that seemed to come from nowhere and everywhere at once. Grabbing her phone, she saw that it had no signal. She was completely alone. With no other options, she decided to leave the car and find help. Wrapping her jacket tightly around her, she stepped into the fog. The forest was eerily silent. The only sound was the crunch of leaves under her feet. As she walked, the whispers grew louder, more distinct. They seemed to be calling her name. "Emily?" She quickened her pace, her breath coming in short gasps. The trees loomed closer, their twisted branches forming grotesque shapes in the fog. She stumbled over a root, falling to her knees. When she looked up, she saw the woman in white again, standing just a few feet away. "Who are you?" Emily demanded, her voice shaking. "What do you want?" The woman pointed a bony finger at her, and Emily felt a sudden, overwhelming sense of dread. She scrambled to her feet and ran, not caring where she was going, just wanting to get away. She ran until her lungs burned and her legs gave out. Collapsing against a tree, she struggled to catch her breath. The whispers were deafening now, a cacophony of voices all speaking at once. "Emily, join us. Stay with us." "No," she screamed, covering her ears. "Leave me alone." A hand touched her shoulder, and she jerked away, spinning around to find herself face to face with the woman in white. Up close, she could see the woman's face was gaunt, her skin stretched tight over her bones. Her eyes were empty sockets, dark and endless. "You can't escape," the woman whispered, her voice like the rustle of dead leaves. "This place is cursed. No one leaves." Emily backed away, shaking her head. No, that's not true. I will get out of here. The woman smiled, a grotesque, hollow grin. Many have tried. All have failed. With that, she vanished once more, leaving Emily alone in the darkness. Desperation clawed at her, but she refused to give up. She had to find a way out. She stumbled through the forest, her mind racing. As the hours passed, the whispers grew louder, more insistent. The shadows seemed to move, creeping closer. She could feel the weight of the forest pressing down on her, suffocating her. Just when she thought she couldn't go on, she saw a light in the distance. Hope surged through her, and she pushed herself to keep moving. The light grew brighter, and she realized it was coming from a small, dilapidated cabin. She burst through the door, gasping for breath. The inside was dimly lit by a flickering lantern. An old man sat by the fire, his eyes widening in surprise as she stumbled in. "Help me, please," she begged. "I'm lost. There's something out there." The old man nodded slowly. "I know, you've seen the ghosts, haven't you?" Emily nodded, tears streaming down her face. "Yes, I don't know how to get out. Please, help me." The old man sighed, standing up with a creak. "You're not the first to get lost on Whispering Road. The forest is cursed, haunted by the spirits of those who died here. The only way to escape is to face them." Emily's heart sank. Face them? He handed her a small, worn book. "This contains the ritual to release their souls. Perform it, and they will be free. But be warned, it's dangerous." She took the book, her hands trembling. "Thank you." The old man nodded, his eyes filled with sorrow. "Good luck, child." With the book in hand, Emily left the cabin and made her way back into the forest. The whispers followed her, growing louder and more frantic. She found a small clearing and began to read the ritual, her voice shaking. As she spoke the ancient words, the fog thickened and the air grew colder. The spirits appeared, their hollow eyes watching her intently. The woman in white stepped forward, her expression unreadable. "Release us," she whispered. Emily continued the ritual, her voice gaining strength. The spirits began to wail, their forms flickering and fading. The ground trembled, and a blinding light filled the clearing. When the light faded, the spirits were gone. The forest was silent once more. Emily fell to her knees, exhausted but relieved. She had done it. She had freed them. As she stood up, she saw the first light of dawn breaking through the trees. She made her way back to the road, her heart lightened. The fog had lifted, and the road was clear. She found her car and was surprised to see it started easily. She drove away from Whispering Road, glancing back one last time. The forest seemed less ominous in the daylight, but she knew she would never forget the horrors she had faced. Emily arrived in Riverview as the sun rose, the town waking up to a new day. She knew she would never be the same, but she was grateful to have survived. The old road had claimed many, but she had found the strength to escape its grasp. And though she never spoke of it again, the memory of Whispering Road lingered, a reminder that some legends are born of truth, and some roads are best left untraveled.